Look at a sluice, and it's a very uniform shape and it's a very uniform pattern in it. When you look at a creek, it does have similarities, but there's a lot of things that are different. And the first couple of differences you'll always find is that a sluice never changes the pattern in it. It's always the same. Another thing that's always the same with the sluice, when you set it up, it's always got that one constant flow of water going through it. A creek, on the other hand, constantly changes the shape and form. Banks move. They build up on one side, they chew out on another. The water flow is high during a flood, and like it is now, there's nothing. So obviously there's nothing moving. So there are differences, but there's always going to be indicators in a sluice that show you where gold collects, and it's going to be the same in a creek. There's always going to be indicators that will point you to where the gold's going to collect. I'll just walk back down this way a bit. You can see that bedrock there behind me. Now, it's not running directly across the creek, it's actually running at a slight angle. And you can see it's angling over to this side. So what happens in a sluice? Well, it's not angled, it's straight across, isn't it? It's from one side to the other. But in a creek or a river, if your bars of rock are angled in the flow of the water, it's naturally going to want to push all the water along the same direction that the bedrock is flowing and the crevices and that. And that's why you end up with build-up of gravel on the downstream side of the bars of rock, because all that water pressure that's coming down during a flood and it's rising up and down, it's pushing down hard in all these bars of rock, and the pressure is pushing all the heavy material and all the sands and gravels over to one side. It's wanting to come out of the main flow and collect. Now when this creek's running, normally it runs over this side. So once again, you've got a big hump of gravel in the middle, and in amongst all of that, there's really large rocks. When you go further up the creek, I've just walked past it, but there's actually some big bits of bedrock up there that have actually created a low pressure point, and then everything's collected behind that low pressure point in a straight line. So you think of a sluice, nice straight sides, but it's got a low pressure point at the start. There's nothing else there to actually push all this material away, so it flows hard down this side and hard down this side, and all the fines are collecting there. But we're right at the tail end. And so this is where I was working before. So that gravel that I was just pointing out, it's sort of tapered off to that point. So a lot of the water and gravel has been pushed out and around the end of this bit of bedrock here. And it works its way around, and you can see another hump of gravel there. So we're identifying these low pressure areas. That low pressure area there where all the gravel's built up. And this was built up on top until I come and dug in amongst all the crevices. And then it starts to build up again in the center. It's building up in the center of the stream because that bedrock there is pushing the flow in that direction when it's in flood, and then it moves back around to this side when it's normally flowing without any flood water. Now at the start of the video I said there was a bit of a crevice that actually held gold in front of the bar of rock. That was that crevice there. The explanation as to why there'd be gold sitting at the front, when you look back upstream, I've put this down a little bit lower and it might make it a bit easier for you to see why it's collected at this point. A lot of that water pressure that's been coming down both sides of that bar, up and through there, has pushed down. It's been hitting this bedrock and it's pushed around to the side. So you've got high pressure running through here, but as it comes around the corner of this bit of bedrock, it creates a low pressure area just in here. Now when I was actually here last time, this was still underwater, but now that it's cleared out, I'm going to be able to dig a bit more of that out. So I also intend on going further across into this area where the water's normally got high pressure and just see what comes out of the crevice through here. Alrighty. Now, this isn't a hard and fast rule. There's going to be times when you'll go to an area like this, all the indicators will say, yep, that's going to be a low pressure area. You're going to dig there and you're going to find little or no gold. Now, there's many reasons for that, but probably the most primary reason is when you're on a creek, you're only ever looking at a snapshot of the current creek. What's happened a year before or 10 years or 100 years before has changed since now. So where the flows are, where the high and low pressure points could have been completely different. All right, I'm going to dig in here and just see what we get. Well, I've had enough for the day. As I went further across and up the other side, it just kept giving those 3 or 4 colours per pan, so I end up having a bit of a scout around and tried a few other little areas. Once again, 3-4 colours per pan, nothing spectacular, but I say if you're getting gold in every pan, it's still pretty good. Had a dig in behind that bit there and got a few colours. So, what did we end up with? Well, I got a bit of clean water here and I emptied the sniffer bottle out so I could see how much water, how much gold was in there. And this is what I got for a few hours of crevicing today. So not too bad. And I say, by no means have I cleaned those crevices out 100% spotlessly clean. All right, well, I hope that has helped. Probably made it clear as mud for some people. But yeah, if you can just look at how a sluice works and where the gold actually collects when you're actually feeding it in, you can see the gold. Just have a look at where it collects and what the water is actually doing in the sluice and why the gold's getting collecting at that point. And then take that and try and use the same methodology in a creek or a river. If you can see that there's certain areas that when the water's flowing has high pressure and low pressure, try and visualize that and put that into practice out in the field. So if you can find an area where there's all the gravel's built up, like here in front of me, low pressure point, have a dig there. And I say, even like I said, I had a dig in that little crevice over there. Still got gold, but it was only 2 bits in that area of high pressure. If it's got somewhere to drop out, it probably can. But if you've got a lot of water that's running really fast, it's a lot less likely. All right, well, that's it for today. I'm going to pack the gear up, walk back to the vehicle and get out of here. All right, hope you find lots of yellow wherever you are. Get out there and get into it. Until the next video, have a good one, and I'll see you later.